So I'll start with a small demo, right? And perhaps some of you have used this stuff, some of you have not. I'll start with a small demo here. And what I've done is Google has this, you folks are aware of Google Collaboratory. Yeah, it's a place where you can, it's an environment where you can simply, start writing code, you can add your files there, work with the code, you can connect with other systems and stuff. So it's essentially an online environment for you to work with code and files and make projects and stuff, all right? So it does have a lot of AI capabilities also. So what I'm going to do is this. It's a small thing. It's not technical. You don't need to worry about the code or anything. So there's nothing. I just started this thing. I'm connecting to the server, so to say. And anyone can do this right now, by the way, right? Take this and connect with whatever you want. But yeah, connect. Right. And instead of writing code myself or figuring out what to write, I'm going to say analyze files with Gemini. It's a button which is very prominent. You can't miss it. All right. And okay. Okay, where is this? My neck. And this is like ISA insurance, whatever. So there's a file I'm adding here. And all I'm saying is, which file is about marketing campaign for an insurance company. Yeah. And help me identify the segments that are most likely to respond positively. Okay. And respond. And I'll say, okay, the target column is response. I can just help it with a little bit of information, right? And that's it. Yeah. Identify segments that are most likely to respond positively. Yeah. And that's all. Okay. So now what it's going to do is, it says thinking, but essentially it will make some sort of a plan that, yeah, here's a set of tasks that I can execute in your notebook to help you answer the question. I will load the data. Then I will do some data exploration, right? I'll check missing values. I will check the distribution of the response variable, check the shape of the data, the correlation between variables. Then it says I'll handle the missing values and outliers. Yeah, I might perform imputation and stuff like that, right? And then data wrangling, convert categorical numerical for machine learning models, data splitting, feature engineering, all of these things, all right? And it asks me whether it change anything or execute. I say, okay, execute the plan. And I say, okay, yes, I want to continue. And what you'll notice is very soon, it says runtime disconnected everything, but yeah, very soon you'll start seeing results. Right, so it loads the data, each of the subtasks perform. Okay? Loads the data, no error occurred so far, and you keep it getting updated by itself. Yeah, I think it made a rather complex plan, but anyway, let's see. So now it's going into a visualization aspect, the distribution of the response, the missing values. Okay, let's see. Still in data exploration. Okay, there's some nice views it is making. Right, it's made this view about, okay, what are the correlations? Man, my neck. Okay, what are the correlations of the data set? We have these. Yes, you can see these, yeah, correlations between this and that. Yeah, okay. It gives distributions of response rates, missing values, all of this, all right? Correlations are also done. So it gives me a sense of, okay, what is correlated with what? Now data and data cleaning. Some outliers were detected. Yeah. It is handling using a bin serialization technique. After outlier, it is better. Splitting data, okay. Right? And it will do this train test split, model, right? Feature engineering. I think you get the point now, right? Yeah, you get the idea that this thing is doing all of this. Accuracy of logistic regression with features is 83%, okay? And then it tries a random forest classifier. Okay? And then it will give me accuracy for that as well. So now, so this I think everyone gets the point, right? I give a file and I give it's not a very specific thing also. It's more of an objective. I want to understand which customers or which segments are most likely to respond positive. That's all I said. I didn't specify exactly this does that does, but it is doing a lot of things: exploratory analysis, data modification, now model evaluation, right? And checking different models as well, right? Gradient boosting, random forest, gradient boosting, and stuff. And then finally, it will give me some reasoning. It will give me which are the most important ones. And there's an error, I will fix it also. Anyway, that's not the point. Now, it does everything. Right? And I can tell you, first of all, that what it did. I mean, if I think of a junior analyst, not let's say a very senior guy, junior analyst, or even a junior data scientist, just a fresh one, maybe a year of experience or not much, they will give a worse result in perhaps a week. And this thing gives me a better result in 5 minutes. Okay, clearly, I mean, I can confirm it did a very good job. This is an excellent starting point. And just to get there, a regular junior analyst will take a lot more time, a lot more guidance, a lot of headache. So then the question becomes, okay, at this point is, okay, what is the point? Is that it, right? If this is it, so why do I need any of these people? Why do I need these analysts? Is that it, right? Why do I need analysts? Why do I need data scientists? Some might say, okay, fine, you don't need analysts because the visualization part is automated. Dashboards, BI tools are AI with BI is popular, and graphs are automatically created. But then they're like, no, you don't need analysts, but you need data scientists. But we see that even data scientists are not needed, right? Because it did make multiple models, it did try different things, it showed you ROC and everything. So even data scientists are not really needed then. So then what is it then, right? And the question is, why do we even need to consider a career in any of these fields, like a data analyst or data scientist or AI engineer or product analyst? It seems pointless, right? And by the way, just as a side note, most of the courses that you do, that is the end point. So what the chatbot, what the Gemini team did in 5 minutes is typically what you learn after 6 months, perhaps even more, right? So what you're learning in 6 months is perhaps what this thing is doing in 5 minutes. So then the point is why? Like, what's the point of it, right? Why don't just give up? So on that very optimistic note, on that very positive note, let's begin the main content, all right? And we will answer this question again later in the session, that why this matters, all right? So the main point here is that what we did, right, is nothing. It's not much real. It's just some steps one after the other. And everyone has this romanticized view that, okay, you put in data, there is this AI stuff, some magic happening, and then there's value. That's what people think. We have these AI engineers, we have these people, just give them the data and they give you certain magical things out. Yeah. And here is where you can imagine the expectation versus the reality mean. Okay? So that is what really happened. So this is what people think AI looks like. But what really AI is far more involved, right? It's not just taking data, doing some analysis, and getting some numbers out of it, which you share with someone. It's far more than that. There is a big data aspects, okay? Selection, sourcing, synthesis. In fact, even selection would even mean deciding what data you might want to capture starting today, so that 3 months down the line we can make a model. That could be something which is very important, right? So it's not just taking what is available. Then there's data engineering. Once the data is getting collected, cleaning it up, storing it in the right way. Then there is modeling and making models, and not just models, even visualizations, making dashboards out of it, making analysis for whatever your stakeholders, right? And then there is value, which is like, okay, operationalizing and model registry and deployment and mentoring. Okay, and we have creative folks, all right. And then you also have constraints. You have legal constraints, you have ethical constraints, you have bias in the data, right? Who's going to take care of that? There's security. Who's going to tell you that the model you're building is heavily biased, right? And that this is not done, right? You need to fix it and there'll be an audit or whatever, right? So essentially, what we are saying is, while there is a very simple picture of this data, some code and some output, the reality is far more involved. And this reality is what you need to appreciate, to begin to appreciate the value of analysts or data scientists or engineers. That's the first point we make. This is not just what we saw earlier, it is far more than that. That is the simplest part. In fact, that is the easiest part. And that part we saw earlier, right? Writing code and getting output, please come in here. That perhaps is 10% of a data science project, just 10%. Most of the time is spent in all the other activities. So that's not even important, right? So let me just, okay. So first point made, this is much more complex than writing code and making models. Right. And then we come, okay, then fine. Then there's data science and there's so many roles, right? Which of these is what? And we'll talk about these in a bit more detail, but I want to start with this, okay? And before we go into detail, the TLDR kind of a thing, like long story short, summary is that right now titles are very misleading, okay? Don't go by titles. They will confuse you a lot. There are no standard definitions. Even companies don't know exactly what they want. So some manager would say, this is what I want. Some HR person will be completely clueless and they'll put some definition and they will get some other job description, some other website, and just put it out there, right? And that's why I have situations like 10 years experience in ChatGPT, some random stuff like that. Okay, so even companies don't know exactly what they want, but they know something around this is what I would like to be, don't get the result, right? And this is the first major point, titles are misleading. Second point, there are, in a way, there's like 5 broad categories of data science roles right now. We'll talk of each of them. But yeah, broadly, there is this analytics family. So business analyst, data analyst, product analyst. I also talk about other names for the same role. So don't think, oh, where is the business intelligence analyst? It's there. It's inside here, okay? Then there's data scientist, and then there's a ML/AI engineer, right? And within the data scientist, you have research scientist, you have applied scientist, or whatever. There's think of these as these have become families now. Yeah, analytics families and data ML families, right? This is the point. And another point here is, another point is skills and competencies across these roles might vary a little bit, okay? But all of them have a common foundation. So we all might be aware there are certain things you must be able to do. You must be able to get data. You must be able to analyze data a little bit, right? You must be able to perform basic statistical summaries. These are, it doesn't matter what role you are. Everyone should be able to do these things, right? That's another point. The skills and competencies vary. And skills, we typically talk of technical skills. Competencies, I'm talking about things like communications, for example, right? Your problem-solving nature and stuff. So these will vary, and we'll talk of them as well. And what shapes these competencies. Okay, that's the short story of it. Let's go into the longer story. And we'll talk about the different roles. Like I said earlier, there's 3 or 4 types of roles. Talk about different roles, and we'll start with business analyst here. Okay, number one of the most common profile, one of the most confusing profiles, also, by the way. There is different business analysts in different situations, and it's very hard to know what is it even analytics. So each of the roles, what we'll see is what they do, the tools they use, okay, and what other possible titles are lumped in this category, right? That might help you a bit. So what they do, okay, is it clear to the end? At the end as well, okay. So what they're really trying to do is tying data insights into actionable results. That's what everyone's trying to do, but they are a bit more closer to the business stakeholder and decision maker, right? So they would kind of give it directly to them. But for all of these things, they need deep knowledge of the business domain, and they'll often use non-coding tools to communicate things, to perform quick analysis and stuff, right? So they're not the most coding of the all job families. They're much closer to business. It's a very interesting role, actually. And you have direct access to the decision makers, right? Tools they use, I mean, I've just listed a few popular ones. There's much more out there. You can't be exhaustive, it's not possible. But yeah, they use something in BI, maybe Tableau, Power BI, Looker, not as builders maybe, but maybe as users, consumers, right? Look at dashboards, look at the new numbers and whatever is happening. Of course, they need spreadsheet tools like Excel or Google Sheets these days. They definitely need to have a sense of SQL databases and how to fetch data and querying. And Python, not necessarily very high proficiency, but some basic level of Python or R or whatever other tools are out there. But yeah, this is where mostly it is, right? Spreadsheet tools, perhaps databases, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. That's what most of them are. I mean, some of these are variation. I'll talk about this as well. But mainly, on average, this is what it is. Yeah, and very many titles are possible. So it could be a business analyst, a marketing analyst, a supply chain analyst. Sometimes it's a process analyst also. It's very good. IT business analyst or analytics consultant, right? But whatever the title may be, there's many more. Okay? This is where the problem is. You go search for data science roles, you have like 100 roles out there, right? And you don't know what is what. So that's what I'm trying to kind of. Regardless of these titles, if you understand that the role is closer to business, right, does not involve a lot of heavy coding, right, and you will be sharing insights or communicating things to action decision makers, not so technical way, then you're talking about a business analyst profile, right? Any question anyone has, please, use the Slido from earlier, or that's the only option you have right now. At least come. Okay, so yeah, that's number one, business analyst, right? Now the second profile, this is just a list, right? So I'll just go through this. Here's the data analyst profile, and what do they do? I hope you understand by now that all of them will have this angle of taking data and giving some value. Otherwise, there's no point of having that. Okay? That's understood. Okay? But data analysts are they are responsible for analyzing and reporting insights from the analysis. In fact, or making it easy for other people to analyze and derive insight. That's also a part of what they do. They care about data quality, data access, data storage also. A business analyst is not too concerned about exactly how the data is stored. They are more concerned about consuming it. Data analyst is very concerned about how it is stored and whether it is stored in the right way or not. Can I create the right metrics from it or not, which the business analyst might use, right? That's how a data analyst. They also define the data, not just consume it. So, and I'll talk of this example later, but let's say a business wants to understand a particular metric about customer behavior. And it happens so that we are not tracking it yet, right? So if I want to see how many customers are clicking on certain section of the reviews on the platform, we don't have it. So we need to start tracking it now. The business analyst will not do much. Business analyst might tell you this is the metric I want. From a general, this is what the numerator should be, this is what the denominator should be. That's all. The data analyst is the person which will go and actually, okay, exactly how I capture this, exactly how I qualify this, how I remove outliers, how I clean this, and what gets stored as a numerator, what gets stored as a denominator, and how, in what sort of a process or a pipeline is it brought together to create the metric. So they are more on the creation side, not just the consumption side. And tools they use, very similar tools, but yeah, the depth changes. So SQL databases, they are like very good. They can't be just someone who writes a query. They're someone who writes efficient queries, complex queries, right? Easily spanning 200 lines or something. That's not a big number. Okay, they're actually capable of performing full analysis using SQL queries itself. Python, PySpark, depending on what setup you have. They also they use these tools much more than business analysts. In fact, they create these views. They create underlying structures or underlying data stores to enable views on this, right? So this is what they do. Then they also use spreadsheet. Everyone uses spreadsheet tools. It doesn't matter who you are. That's about them. And then what are other titles for them? Here's data analyst, of course. There. Then there is business intelligence analyst. There is a data analytics engineer. These days, there is a reporting analyst, analytics specialist, database analyst, and perhaps 20 others, right? But again, the point is, title aside, if you're talking about a role which is heavily on the, not just the data usage, but also data creation, access, quality, creating things which others can also use for analysis, then you are talking about a data analyst. These people expected, as you expect, right? They are not so close to business. Yeah? If they're not interacting with the business stakeholder regularly, then of course the things you need also change. Just as an example, if someone has to talk to, let's say, CEO every day, their skills they need in terms of communication are very different compared to someone who's talking only to an engineer, right? So those things also manifest. I'll come to this point later as well. Okay, but yeah, these people are a bit away from the business stakeholders, end stakeholders. A little bit, they do have some exposure, but not as much, right? So their world is quite different. All right. Any questions about this? Any of these? No. Okay. All right. All right. Then there is product analysts. These people are also, I think, somewhere like a business analyst, however, just a bit more closer to the user. So business analysts, product analysts are responsible for monitoring and reporting product health. The product we mean, now product is a very, very widely used term. If you have an app, that app is a product. So within, let's say, the Amazon app, you go and there's a review section, that is a product. If there's a product inside, there are products inside the product. So anyway, everything is a product. But anyway, product analysts look at the product itself. I mean, the app or the website or whatever it is. If they look at the performance of it, how people are interacting with it, right? So there's a strong focus on user experience and interaction with the product. So when someone says, okay, let's roll this new experience for the customer, or let's change the way the ranking happens, or show the price differently to the customer, the product analyst will come and say, wait, we need to test it out. We need to perform some sort of a testing, some sort of an A/B test, some sort of an experiment. We do the experiment. From the experiment, we'll see whether it has a positive effect or not. And we launch this new feature only if there's a positive effect. That's what a product analyst will do. The product analyst is the one who cares the most about, ideally cares the most about the end user and their experience and the product itself, how that product should be optimized to make the experience better for the user and also profitable for the company itself. Okay, that's what a product analyst will do. Okay, so it's, again, they do work with business stakeholders, but not so much, not as much as business analysts. But they will typically work with product managers, and they will also work with engineering teams or maybe even data scientists. Okay? And the tools they use are, again, SQL. For the on-site analytics part, we might use BigQuery if data is stored over there. And then Google Analytics or Amplitude or Adobe Suite, one of the tools to be able to analyze on-site experience. Right? So what happened? Someone clicks here, then what did it do next and stuff like that. Things are being tracked or not, right? They also need to use Python. This is one of those foundational things. Okay? And then for BI, they also might use Tableau, Power BI, whatever, but not heavy users. Somewhat here and there, occasionally, but they're mainly over here. This is their main staple stuff. So here's where you see a bit of a difference in what their world is and who they talk to, who they focus on, and what tools they use. There's a clear distinction now. And now the analytics part is done. Let's come to the other titles of this: UX analyst, growth analyst, user insights, or whatever. Many titles. Yeah. Now let's talk about data scientists, who they are, what they do, what tools they use. And these folks, again, insights, impact from data, yes, but now there is a much bigger element of pre-processing large complex data sets. There's not a lot of element of, okay, how should this data be recorded and stored? They don't care so much. The data analyst will take care of that, or data engineer will take care of that. This is more about, okay, how do I use that data? How do I pre-process it to use in my model, and so on, right? They will develop and implement statistical models, machine learning algorithms, and so on. Not just, and by implementing, I mean not just running it, whatever. They also, in many companies, take it to production or deployment, making it usable, right? Actually using the model. That's also part of their role. Then what do they use? They also use SQL heavily. They use a lot of programming, like Python, R, or whatever. They use machine learning specific frameworks like Torch, PyTorch, TensorFlow, whatever. they have to, because they also experiment with models and data, they have to use version control. They need to know a little bit of basic machine learning ops. Model, when you experiment with different kind of models, how do you store the experiment data? How do you monitor the data which have changed? After the model is live, how do you track if the model is still performing well and so on? This is the kind of stuff, like a maintenance of the model itself. And there's some other specialized things as they need. So it's like, but in general, they are heavy, they use a lot of data. They focus on the statistical model part a lot more. And yeah, they, in addition to the basic, which is SQL and Python and stuff, they also have to do these things, which are more specific towards model, let's say, development and deployment. Right. And then there's so many roles, right? AI scientists, research scientists, applied scientists, predictive modeler, statistical modeler, ML specialist, and so on. And this actually was, I think, pretty much the role of an AI ML engineer a few years ago. But now the AI engineer thing has developed quite a bit, yeah? And the overlap is still very strong. There's still a lot of overlap between this role and the AI/ML engineer role. What do those people do? The AI ML engineer is focused on deploying. So even the previous folks, they were making and deploying, but these folks don't spend a lot of time on making. Typically, they're like quick to make, spend a lot more on deployment, right? The previous folks, which are data scientists, might spend like 6 months to make a model, and they don't care about deployment so much, perhaps. These folks will probably spend like 2 weeks to maybe one month at most to make a model, spend the next 3 months to deploy it. And it's a very different kind of a thing. But so they are more, it's more like someone who is not really too much into the algos and stuff, but they're more on the engineering aspect. If they try to quickly make some model and deploy, that's what they typically are. But what also happens is, in many companies, bigger companies, there's data scientists. They will do the research and take 6 months to make the model. Then these folks will come in and then take that model to production. So they might also work together. They often compete also, but in bigger companies where the roles are clearly defined, they also work together, right? And they optimize the model performance. And if the model is working, and they also monitor closely, if there are issues, they might also troubleshoot the issues. That's what these AI ML engineers do. Okay? The tools they use, again, SQL databases was there. Now, depending on what you use, that you could be using Java, you could be using C++ for model development. Not everyone is using Python, right? But again, this depends. It's very contextual. But yeah, they're using machine learning frameworks. They're using technology to make a container out of the model. Make it a, let's say, something you can host somewhere on some sort of server. So they need to know these things like a Docker, Kubernetes, and they also need to know, okay, how to serve the model efficiently. So whenever someone model is there, some new person comes in, have to make a prediction for them, whether they will click on this thing or not. So even that part, okay, how should this happen the best possible manner, fastest manner, is a science of its own, right? So that's what these people also focus on. Okay? So, and they also have these titles. In some cases, there's overlap, as you can see. So ML ops engineer, applied scientist, deep learning engineer, ML engineer, and so on. Okay. Again, but yeah, if I have to summarize this, these are the folks who are more focused on taking the models to production. Right? Sometimes they build the model themselves. Sometimes they take the model built by a more focused team. But taking it perform well, continuously running is their main thing. Right? So this is what he's supposed to. And now, right, once you understand these things, right, these foundational things, I hope you already seen some common threads, right? That all of them need SQL, data comfort, basic types and stuff. Everyone needs that. The differences appear in certain specific things. Okay? And I think at this point, I ask you again, right, the question from earlier. Now you know what these roles are. And the question from earlier is, if that Gemini thing is doing everything for you, why do you need these data science people? Do you even need them? I want you to answer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why is that?
Because making complex models is really far, and this is just like white coding whatever you do.
Okay, white coding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with this we can get like short-term models, but if we have to build bigger models, we need complex things like handling security and payment requests are just easy.
Yes.
We have to go with security compliance and much more. So we need an actual team. But for starting out, we can start with white coding.
Okay. Not when the stakes are high, but okay, fine, I get your point. The point being made is that many real world applications are complex. They're not so simple that you just do some sort of a vibe coding, which is a popular word. Just get some code out and ship it. Doesn't work that way. So you need teams to think of the various aspects and make something which is valuable. Right? That's what the point is. Right. Fine. What about data analyst? Do you still need them? Business analyst, still need them. Okay. Why is that?
Depends on the company side
Okay.
and how many products that you are handling. One person can't focus on a lot of products. So we need to make it specific and niche so that we can get results.
Okay. 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 I think someone wrote on chat that to build another Gemini, something better, we need. Okay. That's fun. Yeah, but yeah, data scientists, data analysts, business analysts, all of them are needed. In fact, I'll make an argument that they are more important than ever before. Right. So why am I saying this? Okay. And this is what is happening across the board. Okay, it doesn't matter which profession you're talking about. Across the board, what is happening is the lower value things, which let's say someone from college can do, right? Those things are being automated. Okay. And what is becoming more and more important are these things: analytical thinking, complex problem solving, critical thinking, influence, reasoning, problem solving, ideation, right? Technology use, technology design, system design, basically, right? These are the things we are needing more than ever. Why? Because there was a time, if you folks might not know this, but there was a time where just to create a PowerPoint presentation in a certain manner, there are people who were VBA experts who used to sit there, and the only job they had was to write code in the background to do something like, if I click this, it should go to this slide. That kind of stuff was their main job. Imagine that someone's full job is just doing that kind of stuff. They were not adding a lot of value in that way, right? The task was easy to automate, and that's exactly what happened. It got automated, and they had to move on to better things. Same thing is happening here. Using the new generative AI stuff, they are becoming so much more capable now that many of the low value repetitive tasks, which you don't need much of brain, there's a process to follow. It's doing that. It will follow a process. So what it does is the process part is given to the machine. The thinking part comes back to the human. Right? And now we are going to a place where everyone, every team will have, now they won't have like 10 engineers. They will have 5 engineers using AI in a better manner. So there will be a bit of a pain that there will be people who are not adding much value and they're just sitting there, and they will feel this burn. They will be for sure. There is no doubt. But in the longer run, what is happening is it is giving much more opportunities to people who do have those skills. So imagine this. I'm sure there's many people I know. They're like, they want to be a good analyst, right? They want to do analytics. They want to be an analyst. But when they start approaching it, for 6 months, they learn, teach me Python first, writing a loop in Python and stuff, right? Then they're learning SQL. Then they're learning Tableau. It takes 6 months. And they're not even doing any analysis. They're just doing tools and stuff. And they give up. I'm not a coder. What the hell am I doing? This is not for me. So good people who had good analytical thinking, but were not good at coding, they were going out of this. They were kind of like the barrier. There was a barrier to entry, which was not analytics, right? It didn't make sense. So now this is changing. Now again, it is giving power back to the people who have the thinking capabilities and capacity. So this is actually very good, right? So now what's happening is we don't need a lot of as many perhaps people doing low value things. We need people to do higher value things. So therefore, we need problem solvers, we need good analysts, and they might be called something else later. Right? Titles, we saw it, there's so many titles, right? Titles don't matter. They are still needed. They are in fact much more important than before. And we need them, right? So in fact, I would say now is a much better time to become an analyst more than ever before, right? in the long run, this is what matters. And someone said in chat, to validate the results from LLMs, of course. So see, an analyst just doesn't perform some, only look at dashboards. Analysts will also tell you that, hey, you're using this big generative AI thing. How do you measure if it is useful or not? How do you measure if customers like it or not? Who decides that? The analyst. So the analysts are still very, very relevant. Thanks, Rahim. All right. So that's one of the key points I want to make, folks. Okay. Thinking stuff is getting very important. Right. And this part is quick. I'll open up to questions very soon. Then the next question would be, okay, fine. Okay, analytics, fine. I want to get into analytics or a data science role or whatever. So, but what do I need? Because this is also very confusing. Even now, right, the courses or whatever, right, they give you a very warped idea. So you have questions like, how much do I need to know? Is deployment mandatory for me to know, right? Isn't this engineering? And I'm not a coder, and just to do basic analysis, I'm supposed to know engineering. It doesn't make any sense, right? What all do I need? So do I need to know PyTorch stuff and Kubernetes and stuff like that? Or do I need a PhD or master's? And I'm not good at coding, should I just give? This is what is happening so far. Thankfully, all of this is changing, right? And many answers we have right now, right? I'll try to answer some of them. First, we take this view that there are some foundational skills, regardless of what role you're taking. Some foundational general which are critical. If you don't have them, you'll be in trouble. Okay? And then there will be something which are like depends, or okay, mostly it is true, not everywhere, but in most places it's true. And then there are things which are very specific, right? In that industry, in that role, they come. Otherwise, no one else cares, right? So first is this: comfort with SQL, comfort with Python, basic stats, and communication skills, right? And the comfort part, perhaps 5 years ago, it meant, okay, knowing exactly how to write a loop in some way, some weird thing, but that bar is much lower now. Okay? Comfort essentially means, okay, being able to, using AI tools or whatever, being able to write things, being able to test it, that it does what you want it to do, it is reliable. That's what we want. Okay? So this kind of stuff is basics now for anyone who wants to get into this. Okay? The bar is lower, but you now become more of a reasoner, a checker, right? This is general. Communication is very important, folks, regardless of the role. Then there is, okay, basic, and not complex, but basic machine learning, or AI know-how. Not to the extent that you are designing algos, you're, going very deep, but you should at least knowing that, okay, this thing is reliable, this thing is not, this is the strength, this is the weakness of this model, this is where it makes sense to use, this is where it doesn't make sense. And then you give it to the AI, it will make the model for you, right? What you need to know, right? Basically, like some basic literacy, of course, is important. Okay? And then there are role-specific things. So Tableau, Power BI, okay, some roles have it, some roles don't. Spark, some companies use it, some companies don't. Cloud technology, some companies still not there yet, right? ML ops. What is ML ops for many companies? They have no idea what it is, right? So these things again become role and industry specific. But if you think of the foundation, okay, this is your foundation. So if you want to be a data science professional now, okay, regardless of which one you want to be, you do this part, right? This part is 60 to 80% of the role. Okay? That should be a very optimistic thing, because that is really what gets you in. Okay? This part is very important. This part is important, but it's not really a deal breaker. It's good. It's a bonus. Unless you're going for an AI specialist role, of course not, but yeah. But if you're any analyst kind of a role, this is not a deal breaker at all. Okay? It's a bonus. And these things, again, will depend. That particular company uses Tableau, so you go for Tableau, right? So this is what it is. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is this is still your staple. This is the main foundation. And it is across roles. Everyone should know this. And thankfully now, the idea of comfort with Python has changed. You don't have to write complex code and loops and stuff in Python. You should be able to use GenAI tools or whatever to get it written and be able to understand what is happening and make sure it is reliable. That's the main thing. Okay? As a beginner, not like a very experienced person. As an experienced person, you should do much more, right? That's about the skills. Okay? And then again, I like to talk about briefly my own experience about this. Okay? Because I said that there's many roles over here. And I can share my own experience. Because in India, in an e-commerce company, I was fortunate to be able to hop across roles. I mean, I was given the freedom to do whatever I want. So I did whatever I wanted to. And I was this once, that once. And there was one point in time where I was doing something very funky, which anyone at that point in time would love to do. It was for Flipkart, for their grocery business, making a recommendation model. Okay, this is what you have added, and based on this, what you should add next. And that point in time, I was using whatever was the cutting edge. Okay? I was using non-negative matrix factorization. I was using some other thing. I was using embeddings in a different way. I was doing all the funky stuff anyone wants. So Flipkart, data science role, building recommendation system for grocery. That's the best thing you can think of. And I was in that role for like 3 to 4 months. This was the most dissatisfied I was in my entire career. Completely off. And my biggest problems were I have no idea what's going on, what my stakeholders are doing, what is the business thinking about. I don't have those, interactions with the other people, other perspectives coming in. I'm just sitting in one corner, making some code stuff and getting kind of improving on some number. Oh yeah, it's like 83.2%. Is that my life, right? So I was very dissatisfied. And that would have been a dream job for others, was the worst stint of my career for me. So if there is a mismatch between your interest plus temperament and the role, this could lead to a lot of dissatisfaction, for sure. I understand in the beginning when you don't have a job, anything is good, fine. You think I'll just take whatever I get. But I would say don't go for a role because it seems attractive. And you can take my word for it, because I was in the most attractive role and I was very dissatisfied because it wasn't for me. Okay? So whatever these titles are, don't be swayed by the attractiveness of those titles. Your personal temperament matters a lot, and there has to be a match. Okay, and again, these kind of just to help you decide or help you give a better picture of what these roles are and whatnot. There are a lot of dimensions to this. Okay? What is needed and so on. So, for example, if you go to a big company, their definition of a data scientist might be very different. For a small company, it might be very different. Big companies typically have well-defined roles, many different types of people working together. So in one project, they will have a data analyst, they will have a product analyst also, they will have a business analyst also, a data scientist also, ML engineer also. In a startup, there will be one person, one person who is like stressed and overworked, the kind of a jack of all trades, right? So they're looking for small company startups are looking for a full stack person, which does everything. Big companies are looking for specialists, right? So if you're targeting those bigger companies, you don't have to think of everything. You have to specialize, right? If you're going for startups, you have to be comfortable with everything. That's one thing you have to be clear. Don't go there with this, right? Obviously, it doesn't make sense. The other aspect is, okay, if you want to learn stuff, right? What is your goal? Because what you need to get a job is different from what you need on the job. So if you are let's say, data science aspirant, you're not data science professional yet. You want to get into data science, and what you want to do is showcase your work, right? You want to showcase your work, and oh, I did this pool analysis. I use these, I use my brain and I did this complex reasoning stuff, right? And I made this project. So you need to show that it's fine. People don't expect that someone who is not in a big company or doing these things will have the very practical deployment skills. They won't expect that from you. What they might expect from you is your skill, your approach. How do you approach this? Do you understand the considerations, right? So that's what is really mattering. So if you want to get a job, you want to highlight things to get a job, you don't need all the complexity. You need to show a good approach. Wherever possible, show it. Make a portfolio on GitHub or publish things on LinkedIn or whatever, right? But put it out there, highlight your skill. It's okay if you don't have the highest level of practical skills. The on-the-job part, of course, once you get into the job, your employer will make sure you learn because they invested in you. They don't want you to be sitting and saying, "Oh, I don't know." They will invest in you, and they will make sure you learn the things, right? So that's that. And what else? Yeah, I think this is a small thing. And some people ask, the reason I ask, some people ask, they will ask if I don't answer this already. This is a preemptive answer. So people are like, oh, should I make a model and make an interactive demo and make an application on a website to show it to my employer? Right? Again, that's what I'm saying. Not necessary. It's okay to also show your thinking and approach. Right? For that, a nice write-up is also good. If you want to get into a role which has a very strong element of interactivity and user experience, then perhaps show that. But most of you do it is not so important to host a model on a public server where people click on. Don't necessarily go there. Okay, things are much simpler than you think it is. That's what I'm trying to say. You still need to show things, still to stand out, really. But for standing out, a lot of more classical things like write up, with my approach. This is why I did this. This is also very good. Okay, right. So, right, and finally, ending in a couple of minutes. I'll show you an example of the roadmap. But yeah, building a roadmap for you, right? It depends on a few things, right? First, where you are, right? Your educational background, your career experience so far, your skill level so far, right? The advice you give to someone who's 20 years experience in a particular domain, expert in a domain, is very different from someone who's out of college and with not a lot of, they have a lot more flexibility and options, right? So then you need to see where do you want to be. So what is a long-term objective? You don't make those longer objectives like, okay, I just want something, right? That's not a roadmap. That's just aspiration. Okay, so you think of where you want to. Okay, and finally, very important is what is the kind of resources you're willing to invest. This includes time. This includes your money and the mindset. Some people are like, yeah, I want to become a data scientist, but I don't want to spend a single penny on it. Right? That's what some people say. Some people are like, my time is much more important. I'm going to spend money on it. I want to get this. Right. So you be clear on what you want to invest. And these are very different things. For some people, time is super important. For some people, money is important. But anyway, these things together define what you could do. Okay, and this is an exercise you should do later, perhaps. And this is something my students did. This is a real example, actually. And they said, okay, I want to get into data analytics role in 6 to 8 months. They're already in a close to data role. So that's why 6 to 8 months is fine. Like, so they said a clear time out objective. Okay, fine, get into data analytics role in 6 to 8 months. They said, I want to be a data analyst, not a data scientist or a data analyst. And according to that, they said, these are the skills they want to learn or improve on, right? Power BI, Excel, Python, and statistics. And then they made a plan. Okay, with this in mind, I will start with this thing first. Then I will start, then I'll do this, and so on and so forth. Right? This is a plan they made for 6 months. And they also added this plan that, okay, I will also do hands-on projects of portfolio building as a consistent thing. Not like after 6 months, after getting the certificate, then I say, oh, what project do I made, right? They are more like, okay, let's build hands-on project right from the get-go. So during learning, they're building things and highlighting those things. And that's the approach which works really well, right? So I would suggest for you all, for those who are still thinking, if you want to get into analytics role or data science, whatever role, try to build a roadmap for yourself. Try to think not in weeks, please. Doesn't work. Think at least in a 4 to 5 to 6 months, right? That's the minimum. In fact, and it's okay to even think in a year or so, right? It's no big deal. So yeah, yeah. So that's essentially about the building roadmap stuff, and we are done. Maybe I'll take the Q&A part. Okay, and then what time is it? All right, we have okay. Let's take the question answers, folks. Okay, can you share the slide of the product analyst? Okay, the product analyst is coming up. Oh. Yes, Jocelyn. Yeah. All right. So that's the product analyst. Yes, and I'll start the Q&A stuff. So I will share the Slido link again. So where's the Slido? Slido was right in the beginning. But let's get rid of all of this first. I have so many animations, it's painful for me. No. Yeah. All right. So scan this QR code, you get to the Slido. And on Slido, perhaps someone already asked some question. I'll give you a couple of minutes or 3, whatever. Ask a question, and if you see someone else has already asked the question, just upvote the question so I know it's important. Okay. Let me go to Slido then. Not this one. Okay, I'll. Okay, you can still take this. Yes, I have a Q&A. Okay. Okay, there's questions are coming up. I will present this. That's better. So, folks, I'll give you a few minutes, couple of minutes, start asking your questions. If the question has already been asked by someone else, please upvote it instead of asking it again, just for ease, all right? So I'll wait for a few moments and I will get rid of this creative work by the other person. Okay. Where is this? Delete, clear all drawings. All right. Oh, yes. Actually, yeah, this was a point which Oscar asked. This was important as well. I mentioned this also. Thanks for asking this, Oscar. Right. So while you folks put in your question, there's a few questions coming in. Okay. Right. Again, reminder, if the question has already been, just check the existing questions. If the question has already been asked, upvote that. If not, please then add your question, please. Oops. Right. How competitive? Okay. 111. Okay. Let me start answering, and then things keep coming up and down. Okay. So let me start answering. So first question is, how competitive is the ML engineering market? It is okay. At this point, the ML engineer is the same as AI engineer, I suppose, right? And this is one of the most in-demand things, right? And what happens? I'll tell you what the problem here is. Okay, the problem here is when you think of ML engineer, you think of someone who understands algos and stuff very well, and understands the engineering aspect of it. What truly happens is a lot of the people who are applying for those jobs have only the engineering part. They do not have the ML part of it. So what's really happening, a lot of the software engineers or developers, right? Everyone is trying to, a lot of them is trying to move into ML engineering, into data science, essentially. And ML engineering, AI engineering is the easiest one for them. They wouldn't want to be a data science analyst or something. They think the ML engineering is closest to what they already know because they're already thinking of operations and whatnot. They think I already have 80% of it or 90% of it. I will just learn this ML thing and I apply for the job. So while there are jobs for ML AI engineers, the competition is high because of that reason. There's a lot of folks who have nothing to do with ML perhaps. They're all learning a little bit and applying for the same jobs. So it is crowded. However, the people who can do a good job are very few and very few. Okay? So that's one thing. Yeah. So there is a competition. But yeah, I don't know really what it takes to stand out in that. But yeah, there is heavy competition at this point. I will say this is done. How competitive is it? Now, can I get a job as a data analyst without a degree of computer science? If so, how can I prove my skills? Are online course certificates or own projects better? Okay. So there's two parts here. Okay. One is what gets you to the interview, and the second part is what makes you clear it. These are very different things. Okay. So when you think of what gets you to the interview, typically these are systems. These are not human beings who are carefully reviewing your life's work. You imagine, oh, I did so much effort in this, my nice resume. Someone's taking a look at it, considering me, my situation. No, the AI system will reject 1,000 resumes in 1 second, right? That's how bad it is. So yeah, nothing personal. Yeah. So what you need to get to that point, in most cases, you need to have certain things in your resume to help the system qualify. If you don't have certain things, the system will not take you. That is the harsh reality, unfortunately. If you're going a referral route that someone in the company knows you, they can vouch for you. Okay, no, this person does not have a degree, but I know that they are good. Then it's a different situation. If you don't know anyone, if you're just applying in the system will mercilessly throw you out. That's what really happens. Okay, so that's the unfortunate thing. But what can help you, right, is if you have a body of work. So if you want to, like, the question is, how can I prove my skills? So what I was talking about earlier, right? If you do have some portfolio, if you do have something to show, okay, that these are the things I did, and if someone can see and really feel, yes, this person is doing something interesting, they looks like they're a thinking person, and not just copying pasting things, then it helps you. But it is tough. So if you, I don't want to give you, a false hope, but yeah, if you you can put some certificates and stuff. Honestly, they don't teach you quite a bit. We all know this. Certificates don't teach you quite a bit, but it does help you get in. That's the point, yeah, of certificates. So yeah. Right. So can you speak about? Oh, I'll first I'll close this question. Yeah. Yeah. So the online courses and stuff part. I think just to answer the last part of the question, regardless of whether you do an online course or offline course, cohort course, or whatever certification, the main thing is go for something which is applied, which helps you build something. That's the main thing. If it doesn't help you build anything, if it's theoretical, just don't do it. Right? That's the main thing. Right. Can you speak on how one can combine two different skill sets, such as marketing expertise with data analytics and finance with data analytics? And this is, I think that's a good question. And this is very common. So in my own experience, right, I was a marketing analyst for a while. In fact, even in Zalando, product analytics for marketing, so for ads, so I had to have a very close understanding of ads systems, auction systems, and everything. So there are many roles which need you to combine them. I think I don't quite get the question. If I think about this, so I might not be able to answer it in the best possible manner. But if the question is more like, okay, I have some existing marketing understanding and I want to learn analytics to become a marketing analyst, if that's the question, then what I would suggest is, okay, regardless of which field you are in, there is no way you're not touching data. You're obviously touching data. You're obviously looking at numbers. You're obviously looking at reporting made by someone. You're obviously looking at models made by someone, estimates made by someone. So I would suggest then maybe start doing those things yourself. In your current work, you have domain knowledge, which is very useful. Start doing things, and doing things is easier than ever. Like I use Gemini over there. Why don't you use Gemini, use your data, and tell Gemini to do something very specific for your domain? Make it do something which only you would know that this is important for my domain, right? Then you will show value, and that's maybe the best way to learn, right? So I hope it answers the question, Anonymous. Nice name. You didn't talk about. Oh no, something went okay up and down. What happened? There was some. Oh yeah, I don't know. There was some question with more votes. Someone is downvoting or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, how can I determine how much AI has improved? Okay, big question. How can I determine how much AI has improved and what I should learn now? I don't quite get the question. How can you determine how much AI has improved? I mean, if you want to understand, for example, how much AI is doing better on coding tasks, for example, then there are public data sets and leaderboards, which will show you that in the past 7 years, AI score has been increasing from 20 to 95 or something, right? So, I mean, that's one way to answer. But I think if your question is more like, despite the advances in AI, where are the gaps or where I as a human can still add value? I think those things are rather straightforward. I mean, I don't think you should go for something which is like a routine thing or something which is mechanical, so to say. Go for things which involve human skills, like thinking, decision making, problem solving. They're already valuable, I'm sure. Right. So that's that. Colleges are offering BTech in data science or BTech in AI ML. Which one has an edge or is relevant? I have no idea. Okay, so one problem, by the way, for everyone is that this, even if the college says that they have a course in AI, there's a very high chance, especially what's happening right now, the knowledge that their professors have perhaps is 3 or 5 years old. Okay? There is no way most colleges, unless you're talking about colleges which are very active research or very actively involved in industry projects, most of them have no idea what's going on. It's all theoretical to them, right? So unless that college, if you see that college has a lot of visiting faculty from the industry or industry projects which are being done, I'm not sure, how these colleges will help. Also depends on which country you are in. If you're in the USA, colleges do have a kind of a contact, right? They do have those research, they do have the connects with industry, so it's better. But if you are in many other countries, including maybe India, perhaps Germany, or even Middle East for that matter, right? Then they're way behind and it will take a while to catch up. So you should not rely on the degree. Get the degree, fine, it gives you a nice label, but you should be out there developing things or doing some projects. That's what will help you much more than the degree will. The degree will just a label. Yeah, I hope it answers the question. I mean, both of them are the same really. AI or data science doesn't really matter. Okay. Um, Okay, I don't know. There's no order now. Everything is someone is going downvoting others. Okay, all right. In which platform can actively look for student internship or jobs? I'm not the best person, man. I haven't been a student for 15 plus years now, so it's hard for me to say this. But still, maybe others in the chat can help you out. Yeah, but yeah, I have no idea really. Can't help it. Sorry. Would appreciate your advice on getting business related experience. Most courses available end after business stats. Okay. Yeah, I think what you're asking is business domain understanding in the context of, I think that's what the question is, how to get data and domain understanding. So there's a couple of routes. Okay. Take a course which is, okay, 2 3, okay. One is take a course or some program in which you're building things with real data. There is no way you can skip domain understanding, because if you have a project, let's say if someone gives you actual banking data and gives you a tough problem, you will have to understand banking to some extent, even if not to full extent. Okay, that helps. Number one. So take some course which has actual data projects, not just some toy projects. That's in this day right now. By the way, toy data and stuff is a clear red flag. Just don't go there. It doesn't make any sense. Hey, that's one. Number two is, okay, maybe do some side project or internship, volunteer for an NGO, those things. Unfortunately, not a lot of these solutions these days will give you a lot of money, but experience is what really matters a lot. So take some side project, volunteer for some. There's many platforms looking for volunteers. Go ahead somewhere and just try doing things. I don't think there's anything else. Or find a mentor. That is another option. Reach out to your college seniors or someone who knows you. Tell them I want to work on something. Don't pay me or whatever. Just I want to work on something and maybe get some exposure. There's no other way. There's only exposure by doing. That's the only option. Yeah. Yeah. Is it good to start working in a startup? Oh, these are like very different questions. Someone asked, is it good to start working in a startup or established company? Man, this is very hard to answer. I mean, I don't think I should answer for anyone. Yeah, totally depends on your mindset and situation and whatnot, right? But I can tell you that uh, if you want to be a jack of all trades, learn a lot of things, go in a startup first, technically at least. But if you want to learn quickly more like, okay, business communication, working with leadership and stuff, maybe go in a bigger company. They will teach you how to be more professional for sure. Anyway, these questions will never end. It looks like, okay. All right. What roadmap do you suggest for a data scientist? Okay. Yeah, I would still say, so one thing I would change now, okay, this is very important, by the way. One thing I would change now compared to even 2 years ago is how you learn these things. And most of the programs out there are still doing the old thing, which is no longer needed. So, like I said earlier, right? 3 months Python, 2 months SQL, 2 months Tableau, and then you go into stats, and then you go into stuff, right? That is completely not needed. There's no point of doing this, so doing data science after 7 months of enrolling a data science program, it's senseless. So I would suggest right now, first start with some program or something which doesn't need a lot of coding, but you're still doing the things a data scientist would do or an analyst would do. For example, an analyst needs to analyze. Okay, they have to generate hypothesis. Is it because of this? They should be able to check it. Yes, it is because of this thing going down over there, right? That's what they need to do. If you can do it without code, just first do analysis. Don't write code in the beginning. That's a good starting point. So take something which is not focused on code so much, but focused on the analysis or the data science part. Get over your fear of it. And okay, yes, I can do this. Then go into detail. So first course should not be Python. First course should be what is analytics and how I do this stuff without writing code. Once you feel, yes, I can do this, then you go for, okay, how much Python do I need for data analysis? Because the Python you need for data analysis is different from the Python you need for something else, like writing a Flask app or something. That's a very different kind of Python. So, and courses will not differentiate. They'll be like, start writing loops like this and stuff like that, which is completely useless for data analysis. Okay. Anyway, so I would say that go for some course or programs or something, okay, which which don't scare you away with the technical details right in the beginning. Learning is much easier now. You don't need to write code to perform analysis, as we saw earlier. So go with something like that. And I'll share some options for you. I think how important is the math? Okay, there's a question I'd like to address it first. Should I? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have you work with before.
APIs, yeah. I think it's a good thing you reminded. That was you, okay. So one point which I wanted to add in the slide, but there was not enough time. I was talking about basic data literacy now, right? I was talking about, okay, everyone should know SQL, everyone should know basics of statistics and stuff, right? In the modern world where systems are digital and stuff, one more thing has become very essential. You need to understand at least fundamentally how it works. Not very detailed, but at least fundamentally how things work. You need to understand how one system communicates with another system. So if you are using ChatGPT or any application on your phone, what you do on your phone, right? Things are not happening on the phone. I mean, ChatGPT is not running on your phone. The request is sent to OpenAI. They are doing the processing on their side. They're sending you back the information. All of this is happening through APIs. Okay, and this API stuff, right, is now how systems talk to each other. And microservices API. This is becoming a topic which I think everyone should have a basic literacy of. Okay? So even if you don't know what APIs are right now, I would strongly recommend some extent, okay, this is what an API is. This is how the API link is constructed. This is what is meant by getting a response from an API, sending a request to it. That basic stuff is very important, right? For sure. Yeah. What was the question again?
Yeah, about between API or
Yeah. We need you need to. So if you are, let's say, building a model now, models are not typically running on machines. They are running on server somewhere, right? So you need to host the model somewhere, and you have to give someone a way to use that model, for example. So you have to create an API for it, right? So APIs are essential now, especially if you're going towards data science or ML engineer kind of roles. Yeah, but if you're going towards analyst and stuff, it's not too critical, but it's good to know. It's becoming like literacy everyone should have very quickly. Yeah. Okay. I'll be finishing my master. Man, the ranking is all messed up now. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll be finishing my master's in data science. What are things must be prioritized, like SQL, Python program? Okay. Anonymous. This goes back to the slide I had earlier. Depends on what role you want to go into. But yes, regardless of the role, SQL and Python SQL is essential, regardless of the role. A bit of Python is also important. So yeah, please do those. And one of the visualization tools is also fine, I would say. Just general, okay? How do we know if the portfolio has enough? It's you never know, honestly. How much math, linear algebra for data scientists? It is important, actually. I would hate myself if I say it's no, but yeah, also depends. So in general, a data scientist mostly should be able to read a research paper. They should be able to implement things, customize things. And for that, you need math, linear algebra. Right? There's no way around it. Okay. So for more researchy data scientists or people who would be customizing things and stuff, it is important. Yeah. But Zeba, if you don't want to, yeah, if you're going more on the applied side, you still need linear algebra, but maybe not to that extent. But you need linear algebra, some fundamentals for sure. Yeah. Okay. There's a question about this also I answered. You never know if the portfolio is enough, but try to make it complete. So try to, if your portfolio, try to make it highlight whatever you want to highlight. So if you want to give a complete picture that I know I'm someone who is good at reasoning also, who is good at deployment also, make sure you have a portfolio which is somewhat diverse. Don't have like 5 projects doing the same thing, right? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. This is a weird question. Should I lie about programming skills? No, you should not lie about programming skills to get to the interview. It will be obvious you're wasting the company's time. They might bar you, and these kind of things stay. It's a small world, so don't do it anyway. It's a bad thing. But even then, right? Ethics aside, it will hurt you. Please don't do that. Okay. All right. So this is it. I think the questions will never end. But what we could do, let me think. Maybe there's another follow-up session sometime. But I feel like most of the questions have been answered, and these are more specific ones. Tools to learn. Nah, I think all of these most of them are done. Roadmap. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There was something about Kaggle competition, good for gaining experience. Not quite. So when you go into a competition in Kaggle or any other place, right? It's good for some parts of it. You learn how to be efficient. You learn how to optimize things. Perhaps learn how to make a process and not just random code here and there, right? In that aspect, it's good for sure. There's no denying. But yeah, that's not enough. That's rarely enough. You need much more than that, like I said. So it's good for practice for the coding part and that. But beyond that, it's not really. You can't show that. Oh, I did a Kaggle thing and that makes me valuable. It's not quite valuable, right? So I'll just head back to this. Okay. Yeah. So what I wanted to also give you folks some options actually, because I think this is also good because I know this instructor is amazing. So, okay. So now, right, I was talking about courses. So the academy we are in here right now, okay. This is for Germany folks, not the folks outside of Germany, but yeah. So if you want to try out a course which starts in the way I mentioned earlier, so not starting with Python, but starting with, okay, how you can do these things better, right? You can check out this particular course, scan the QR code. You'll have the full curriculum over there. Okay. So this is different because it starts not with Python, but it starts with what is analytics and how you can do things without writing code. And this is actually somewhat of an experiment we recently did. We had this with a small group of students, very few, and let's try this approach. And this approach actually worked really very well. And they were like, okay, we did not know that we could do all of this because we had tried earlier and we gave up. So in this course, you start with using GenAI tools to do analysis yourself. You imagine GenAI is the analyst and you are the manager. And your task is to get the work done by the analyst, right? That's how you think. And that kind of opens up your brain and you can do much more, you feel much more confident. So that course you can go and check out over here. It's a 5-month course, okay? With the project, it might be 6 months. Instructor is really cool. I know him personally, great guy. Okay. So amazing guy, okay, terrific. And the best thing is, if you are not employed, so there's 2 ways. Either if you are on a job seeker thing, right, where you're in a training or something, you can get a voucher and this is completely free for you, right? Even if you're employed, then there's a what is it, quality something, there's a program through which if your employer allows, you can also say it is a training requirement for doing better in your job, and you can still get a voucher and still get this course for free. So this is for those in Germany, you can do this course for free. Okay? You don't have to spend a single rupee or a euro or a penny, right? So so this is definitely, I would say, take a look, right? Of course, I'm selling it, but take a look. But yeah, I think it is valuable for sure because I've tried it with folks and I've spent time on this because I think it's useful, right? I won't do it otherwise. This is a longer course. There's a shorter option also, but in this you spend your own money. Okay, and this is something on a different platform. It's on Maven platform, not here. So this is an online thing, and again the instructor is again that excellent guy. But yeah, this is different. There is this is live sessions mainly, and this is more hands-on. There's a small cohort, and there's also this one-to-one weekly mentorship call so that you're on track and stuff, right? So this will be like 6 weeks in a way. Right? Much shorter course, much cheaper course, and you can scan the QR code over here. Okay, and this is for everyone around the world, even my friends from Peru and Honduras. You can take this course. You don't have to be in Germany. Okay, so yeah, so you can scan this. It's a smaller course. You can reach out to me if you have any questions or any concerns. Yeah, you can see the ratings and stuff. So I would suggest do this. And for any of the questions around any of the courses or in general, right? You can find me on LinkedIn. I am fairly active over there. I think, yeah, sometimes my wife messages me on LinkedIn to get a response. Oh, sorry, no, she doesn't. I'm just exaggerating. But yeah, but yes, LinkedIn is a good place to catch hold of me and yeah, stay in touch as well. Right. So yeah, any questions in general about things, about courses? No, so yeah, please do. And about the course and stuff as well. Yeah. And what else? Yeah, this was it. This was it, right? This is a summary on the screen. Okay. Yeah, not everyone needs to be an AI engineer. Okay. Analytics is a great destination, an excellent gateway. This is another point. So even if you say, okay, fine, I want to be a data machine learning engineer later or data scientist in research later, but the path is rather long because you need to have that research thing, you need to have deployment and stuff. Okay. Maybe it is good point to start in an analytics role in a company, and then you work closely with data scientists. You see really how they are really working, and then decide for yourself, is that what you want to do? Because it might not be what you want to do. I have my own experience, right? I did not like being a data scientist. So I would suggest not go for the most appealing thing and spend a lot of energy on it later to be disappointed. Rather, maybe go in something adjacent, see closely how it is, and then you can make a move into data science also, right? So that's one of the main points. Focus on your strengths, but make sure to cover essentials, right? And yeah, take a structured course or program that gives you real world experience. Take this program, not fine, it doesn't matter, but yeah, do something which gives you real experience. Don't just go for theoretical. Certification stuff are fine, but really make a course which you can put on your profile. That should be the bar. Any program you go, ask them, will I be able to make a course which I can put on the profile? If they say maybe, then don't take it, right? And yes, please highlight your work, put it out there. Even a simple write-up, this is the approach, this is what I did, is good enough if your thought process is good, right? That's the main summary. Okay, so yeah, that's about it, folks. This is all I had. If you have any questions, I'll still stick around. If you still want to check out this course, you can check this out. Up to you, folks. But yes, if there is any question from this room, anyone has any question?
Yes. And
Sorry.
sorry.
No, you first, I think.
For starting, all these new software,
Hmm.
Zapier, May,
Yeah.
anything, is a good way to start or not necessarily? I mean, to deploy something,
Yeah,
at least to understand.
they're very specific thing, right? So at the moment, I am building something using N8N, but these are very specific things. They're very useful if you want to show that, so if you want to make an automation business, for example, or do that full time, then it makes a lot of sense. But it's not quite useful for these other roles. But yes, if you want to be an automation focused person, then it's a good opportunity. Learn N8N. In fact, there are many people who do RPA, right? Robotic process automation. It's an established field with a lot of tools and everything, like UiPath and whatnot, right? Prism, Blue Prism, and so many things. So that's the route you will take with these tools. So yeah, if you want to go there, this is a good option.
And is scalable after that, or still is too small? It cannot be produced as scale. You know what I mean?
Can, but it's not so elegant. So at this point, who uses N8N? That's the question. N8N make Zapier is somewhere in the middle, but Anytime Make and stuff are not used by big companies. They are mainly used by small businesses, maybe individual small business owners and stuff, small companies. So they are not really used by big companies. So even if you build something over there, you will not be able to build something on that scale you want. Something older, which is like UiPath, it's not very different fundamentally, slightly different, but fundamentally it's still the same. Blue Prism, these are the things which are used by far more companies, right? They are also adding their AI models now. Everyone has to add AI, otherwise, no one will use you. So in that case, I would suggest rather going with a more tool which is used by bigger companies and try to use AI inside of that instead of going for N8N stuff, which is presenting itself like an AI first thing. The other tools will catch up for sure. So I would suggest that. Yeah.
I didn't see the role of data engineer.
Oh, you asked the question. Okay.
Yeah, because they do, they get insights from data insights from the business analyst and do some kind of retail operations.
Yes.
But I don't see it in the list.
Yeah, I did not. Yeah, I deliberately did not put it here. The reason I did not include it in a data science role, because in practice, what happens is, let's say, and this is a very simple example. Let's say there is business says we want to measure how engaged our users are. Okay. Then what that metric should be is defined to some extent by a business analyst. How that metric should exactly be measured and captured is defined by a data analyst. Okay. It's just the part of doing the mechanical part or the operational part, right? That is being done by data engineer. I don't say it's a useless thing, but it's not the same. It's not as close to the business or the metric design part as the other roles. So that's why I did not put it here. But it's a different thing on its own, right? But their considerations are very different. I wouldn't say their considerations are that close to. Ideally they should be closer to business, but in practice they're not so much. So it becomes more of a back-end engineer kind of a thing more than anything else. Yeah. Yes.
So I would like to kind of change to data science. I come from like the material science field. I recently finished my PhD. And I was wondering about this roles, because you mentioned that, of course, there are general data scientist roles. But if I would want to go into something more specific, right? Do you think it would be a better approach to focus on projects using my previous data, or kind of working on more known databases? What would you recommend?
So you would like to stick to the same industry, right?
I think I would have a better chance to enter the industry if I stick with my. What do you think? Also, I'm open.
I think so. I think it's better that way. So if you are a fresher, then it doesn't matter. But if you do have experience, it's better to use that experience. And I would advise anyone, my own brother or right, he's in the same situation. He's trying to move. I'm saying the same thing. Your domain expertise is becoming more and more important because the code, you saw how easy it is, right? So do some things in your own domain. Even if you pick some data sets, pick it in your own domain and make some projects from that instead of trying to expand. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Questions? No? Okay. Let me see. There's something here. Is it okay? Okay. Share the recording, please. Yes, we'll do it later, Felix. I don't know how well it got recorded or something, but let me see. All right. Okay. I have a request. I want to take a picture with you all. Selfie, so please don't make very weird faces.
There is a question. Sorry.
This is okay, but not much more. Okay.
Rahim, there is a question on the chat.
Oh yes. Okay. I'm taking a picture. Sorry, super busy. Sorry, just 1 second. Yeah. So let me take a selfie here. 1, 2, and cheese. All right. Yeah, sorry. There's a question on chat. Sorry.
It's an important question. It says, is the 5-month course that is supported by the academy supporting this webinar, is it available online or is it just physical in Berlin?
No, this is Berlin. Where are you from? Depends on that. So if you're in Germany, it was possible. If you're not in Germany, it's not possible, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks.
Can you share your Coursera link? So everyone, I will share some of the materials. I think later, right? Oh yeah, by the way, folks, there is a feedback form, please. So everyone, please fill the feedback form as well. I don't know if there is a, how do I share this with you? I'll quickly generate a QR code for you all. But there is a feedback form essentially. So that we know, right, what to change or what is resonating well with you all. So let me. Okay. All right. Copy this. Oops. Oh my God, this is so bad. Okay. So. Terrible. Okay. Oh yeah, got it. It's here. Okay. Now it's here. Okay. So there is a feedback form for you all to fill, please. And oh, so bad. 1 second. Yeah, please, this is a feedback form for the event. Please fill this. And let us know if you found it useful and which parts particularly. So yeah. Even those on online, please fill the feedback form. Meanwhile, I can take some questions if you have, yeah. Ah, it's fine. Okay, okay. Let me see some questions meanwhile. How deep do I need to go into the math? I think I answered this to some extent. What is 1 or 2 courses or degrees outside of data world? Someone is asking about project management stuff. I don't know. Maybe this is not the best. Maybe you can message me on LinkedIn and we can have a discussion there. Yeah. Software developer with 4+ years. Maybe this is something relevant. A software developer with 4+ years of experience. What should they follow? Is switching to business analyst a good option? Yeah, I'm taking this question because this is a common thing. And what I'd like to say is, again, please, if you are already in a job, then you're not desperate to get a job, right? If you're already in a job, then take your time. And I would say, talk to people who are working in this field. This person is asking about, should I be an analyst or maybe should I be a data scientist, right? Talk to people who are working in those roles, see what they do every single day, get a sense of what is the split they have between the things that they do. Okay. If they tell you that, yeah, even though I'm a data scientist, I hate it, then maybe you should think about like why they hate it. Not like, oh, yeah, this is bad, but why, right? What considerations they have and whether they match with yours. Okay. And there's another thing. Okay. So and it's a word which is not the best professionally, but it's called a crap sandwich or a shit sandwich. Okay. What it means is, whatever profession you think of, teaching or anything, there's a small part, okay, small layer, which is very lovely. You say, okay, I want to be a teacher, and you think, oh, such a noble thing. I'm standing in front of kids and teaching them. So nice. But you realize the actual teaching part is 20%. You have to make assessments, you have to make papers, you have to see attendance, you have to do this, you have to do that, there's tons of stuff. And the question in the end becomes 20% is actual teaching, 80% is the crap part. Now, is that 20% good enough for you to tolerate or endure the other 80%? If the answer is no, then don't go there, right? Simple as that. I hope this thing helps. So yes, I hope it answers your question, software developer anonymous. All right. Okay, I think we're done then. All right, folks. Then